So we're gonna start doing 1 million episodes a day, and each episode will only be 1 second though, so you can get the full experience of the 1 million episodes a day.
Yes, and that would mean that we would need to extend the day, like to the length of a day on Jupiter, because there's not 1 million seconds in a day. But that reminded me, there was one time I opened up a bunch of tabs of all of the main Zelda villain themes, and I played them
And you
all
played them
at
all at
once,
once. Yeah,
and it
how
was
did I know?
amazing. It was amazing because somehow they all fit together, and it was extra creepy, not because the sound was off, but because the sound was
Not
somewhat
off.
in sync, and it was just, anyways, it was great. It was real great.
Anyway, on that note, welcome back to the Dr. Z show. This episode is being recorded immediately after our second episode because we don't talk to each other anymore.
Actually, the real truth is this episode is brought to you by Chex Quest, our
This
sponsor.
episode is not sponsored by Chex Cereal or Chex Quest or whoever owns Chex Cereal. I think it's General Mills.
Yeah, that's true. We don't want to get a, like, although I
This
doubt that
episode is
Chex
brought
would.
to you by the Quest part of Chex Quest, not the Chex
Yeah,
part, just the
yeah,
Quest.
and not any weird banks named Quest or something.
Have all Quest. You gotta say the whole
It's
thing. Okay, I gotta ask, what the fuck are these things? What are they? What is their purpose?
they're Cheerio traps.
They're what?
They're Cheerios traps. They're using them to like harvest the energy from other cereals. They're torturing them.
You know exactly what face I'm making right now, don't you?
It could be the angry one.
No, I don't make that face unless I'm trying. Ooh, what the fuck? Oh, I don't make that face. Actually, I'm trying to think of a good example for when I make that face. Probably for pictures.
Yeah. Um, it could be the, like, just
Ah,
face
it
palm
was the
face.
trap. It was the trap.
The trap music's.
So how old were you when you found out that trap music stands for terrible rap music?
I think the second that I learned what trap music is. No, no, no. I think you told me it was like a year ago.
Really? Because I didn't know that a year ago. I was
Okay, it
like
was either.
a month ago that I found that out.
Wait, but I could have sworn that you were the one who told me.
Yeah,
Or
my
unless
girlfriend
I
told me,
just.
she was like, "So trap music stands for terrible rap," and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Unless, did I tell you that? This is something that's really so. Uh Wait, let me think. One
I like
second.
sat back in my chair and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, it was one of those. It was one of those like, spoiler warning for uh, Knights of the Old Republic. It was one of those you are Darth Revan moments where you like sit
Hmm.
back and you're like, "What the hell?" And then you like think about it and it makes so much sense.
Yeah. So basically, in that game, you don't. I haven't played it, so I don't know. No, but me and my lady friend, we like have. There's a reference that both of us have made multiple times to each other, and both of us think that we got the reference from each other, but we're really confused now because we don't know what we're referencing. It's
You don't wait. You don't even. So you don't even know what you're referencing.
No, neither of us do. It's just do it. You won't.
That's something I used to say all the time though to you.
Okay, so then I got it from you, and then she got it from me, and I thought I got it from her
Where
because
did I get
I
it from though?
I don't know.
This is horribly confusing and convoluted, and we haven't even reached the point of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, themed episodes.
Okay, well, I mean, we don't always have to have a themed episode. We just talk at each other. I mean, that was basically our first episode.
That's basically our life.
I mean, yeah, no, you're not wrong. So, side
That's
note
why
though.
it's called the Dr. Z shows. We would
Side
just talk
note.
at each other and people would be like, I want popcorn. Like,
Side
please
side
record
note
this and let me
though.
sit down with it.
This level of this game, the Arboretum, used to scare the living shit out of me when I was a little kid. I can't explain why. It was just really
Oh, I feel you.
terrifying.
Yeah.
So anyway, on the last episode, we got on the topic of Lord of the Rings and the specific Lord of the Rings game
The third
that
H?
Jacob was. What the heck? That Jacob unfortunately found out was like apparently one of the worst like Lord of the Rings games ever. Right? Does that
Yeah. I
sound
mean,
correct?
it's apparently the issues that people had with it were just that it wasn't about main characters, although everyone loves Shadow of Mordor or whatever. Like,
Because Shadow of Mordor has this thing called fun. I really like Shadow of Mordor. I played the hell out
yeah,
of Shadow of Mordor.
yeah. And Third Age was a lot of fun too, but I just don't understand the comments that were made on that article about like, oh,
The
like
IGN article. Ah!
they said that it felt like a chore,
Felt
and
like a
I didn't feel that way. Yeah,
well, okay, so here's the reason like for one, articles about video games are subjective. And two, like here's the reason I take every single IGN article with like the largest grain of salt possible because they marked down the remake of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire because it had too much water.
wow.
Like just think about that for just a second. Like
Like,
what
yeah, they were supposed to patch the entire map.
like it was a remake of the game. They changed like graphics. That was kind of it. They made some quality of life and actually went back and looked it up and they don't mark down Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald for having too much water in the map. And I was like, okay, so you're gonna chastise the remake of this game for having too much water, but not like what?
It's those darn millennials.
You dumb kids in your video games about
In
cat
a reference
cats
to
and making them
Yu-Gi-Oh,
fight.
the abridged series. Those kids with the hopscotch on their iPods.
You're not wrong. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about a game that is exceptionally terrible today. And it's
Correction,
not the Lord of the
exceptionally
Rings game.
wonderful.
It is garbage. It is universally reviled. And what game is that, Jacob?
It can't be universally reviled because I love it.
You're
It's
the
the
only one.
it's the Conduit for the Wii.
And the worst thing I've ever heard someone say about the Conduit is it's good for a Wii game. And that like sort of encompasses the whole theme of like why it's terrible.
Yeah, you have to use motion controls for aiming your gun, which
In theory, sounds great. In practice, is garbage.
yeah, unless so side note, not to get too distracted, if you were playing some of the Call of Duty games that were out on the Wii with motion controls, um, it was real broken. Not in that the controls were bad, but because people. So you could use a normal controller. Like they would let you like plug in a GameCube controller to use on World at War, and
Okay.
that was fine.
Okay.
Or whatever. But uh, oh man, when you had the motion controls in World at War, your gun was completely unbound to your screen.
Wait, what the what?
Yes. So you could set the margins. So you could set it so that you either looked around using the joystick or that like the screen would turn with you at a certain margin, or you could, not have that happen. So what people would do is your gun could point completely sideways. And so they would walk into a, like typically,
into a room.
yeah, you'd walk into just the doorway. No one can shoot you, but you can shoot everyone who's like hiding in the corners who is trying to use that as a strategy. And so people would just get like really good at like running into a room, immediately killing you because they would always have at least 3 or 4 shots on you before you could even register that they were there.
Right.
And then, yeah, and so there were people who just got disgustingly good at it.
Disgustingly good.
And so I learned this playing Black Ops 2 on the Wii U because some people used the Wii and the nunchuck for their controls on that because that was a controller option. And I saw this in a couple of kill cams where like someone did that to me,
Someone
and I
aimed
realized,
sideways.
yeah, and I realized what the heck, like you can do that, and I was like, there's no way that I'm ever going to do that because it's frustrating and everything, but man, it was crazy.
Okay.
Okay, so the Conduit.
Yeah, I was like, where were we? Mostly because
Let's read the
where the
Wiki.
fuck
Let's read
am
the
I?
Wikipedia
Like,
article. That won't take a long time. No, it would take a long time.
never again.
No, I'm just trying to remember some things about the plot. So basically, you are a, let's see,
The world's most generic man.
yeah. Yeah, here's the plot synopsis. So basically, you're in Washington D.C., so that's a huge plus. Um,
Because we
so
used to
there
live near Washington, D.C. So it was a plus for us. It wasn't like a plus in general. Like if you lived in Iceland or wherever, you wouldn't give a
it is
fuck.
a plus in general. Of course, it is. So
Anyway.
there's this alien race called the Drudge. Um, great, great mechanic in Magic the Gathering. Um, so there's the Drudge, and then there is apparently there was, and I had no idea this was even a part of the storyline. It says a mysterious flu-like disease known as the bug has swept across the region through local water sources, resulting in high security locations being left understaffed as government workers are afflicted. I didn't
That's
even know
like
that.
I feel like that was put in after the fact. Because like there was never any explanation for why all of these huge metropolitan areas were super deserted.
Yeah.
Park time on the level is 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Are you shitting me? Anyway,
Well, I think it's because you can either go for time or completion,
not both.
not both. Um, so you are called in. Oh, and then apparently, like, there've been a bunch of assassination attempts on the president of the United States. Um, all right. Then it says, in the midst of these events, Agent Michael Ford must overcome the onslaught of the alien Drudge and the humans under the Drudge's control and defeat the masterminds behind the invasion. So you are Michael Ford.
It's most generic.
Um, yeah, and you have a very, very simple, um, like kind of power suit. It's
It's like imagine Samus's power armor and Gordon Freeman's hazard suit had a baby,
like
but
Zero
the
Suit, like Zero
baby,
Suit Samus suit.
but the baby. I'm trying to think of like a
But the
politically
baby
correct way
got
to
that.
say this. Sure, let's just say that the baby is fat.
um, no, it's more like you were wearing like 4 or 5 layers of Under Armour, and then you put some like cardboard like pauldrons on. Like,
It totally looks like that. If if you're totally lost right now, please, on whatever device you're watching this or listening to this on, pause the video and go look up the box art. Actually, no, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna look up the box art for the Conduit so you all can see what the heck this is.
yeah, and the other great part is that you don't have a helmet like at all. Like it's just a pair of glasses. Like you, like like
Yeah.
Like I can see the body armor like maybe helping you in some fashion. Oh, and
No.
then the big upgrade of the conduit too is you get a helmet.
Yeah, the Conduit box art. It
You
was
should
made by
you should
Sega. Sega needs to stop letting us down.
um
Oh man, it totally looks like that.
um yeah, that's pretty much it. You should look up the box art for the conduit too.
I don't think I ever saw it.
Well, just look it up. It showed up when you were searching for the conduit.
What the? What?
Yeah, look at him. Look at that massive upgrade.
I love the tagline at the bottom. It says nothing about the story, nothing about like any like single split screen and online combat.
Oh yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, conduit too. And
Oh,
it's not
I'm
even
gonna go
it's not
back
even
and play a less
it's not
stupid
even
game.
the conduit two. It's just conduit two. Um so the reasons that I love this game are one, I never really owned an Xbox growing up or a PlayStation. Like, I mean, there
Neither of
were
us did.
some brief
We were
periods of
deprived.
time where so I was mostly like a Nintendo person, but I went over to my neighbors' houses to play um to play Halo all the time. And so just having a first person shooter game that was enjoyable. Kind of like same experience with Medal of Honor Frontline. Like I played the level where you're supposed to sneak into the house party.
By not
Play that
sneaking.
level. Yeah, I played that level so many times because you just had to spam showing them your identification and they would get suspicious. And then you could pull out your gun and kill everyone instead of having to sneak through the level.
And
Um,
people say I'm the morally bankrupt one. Ah,
I'm only morally bankrupt if like there's literally nothing on the line.
what's happening? What's happening?
You're on fire.
Where am I being damaged from? Oh man.
Oh, it was too hot. You probably needed some kind of suit upgrade.
No, it's not too hot. They
It
can
looks like
they can
everything's
they
on
can shoot
fire.
upwards. That's what it is. The enemies below can shoot upwards.
Oh, okay.
So there are enemies downstairs
Oh, okay.
or
I
not
understand.
shooting. This is children
Yeah.
sliming me.
Yeah, they're sliming you.
Um,
Okay. Other reason that I love the conduit is I think the weapons. I like the weapon design. The weapons are. I mean, it's somewhat standard fare for most shooting games in terms of like what the weapons could do, like which weapons were like strong and could zoom, like SMGs, the different enemy power weapons and other things. But they were spread throughout the levels
Random
in
places in Washington D.C. Of course, as
yeah and
as they are in real life.
yeah and it was good in my opinion. The spacing of those weapons, you didn't feel too much pressure like you were going to run out of ammo all the time, but at the same time you didn't feel like, oh wow, I have a bazillion weapons, like I better, it's like you could, when you ran into a new weapon, you didn't feel always, and maybe this is a bad thing, like critically bad, but the weapons were all decent enough that when you got a new one, you weren't always like, oh wow, the stuff that I've been using for the past little bit has just been complete garbage, and like this weapon's the
It
only way that
wasn't
I'm
like
gonna
a
be able to clear the next.
revelation.
Yeah, it was like, oh, like I like the way that this gun fires, like I like using it, or this one is a little bit stronger. It was, you had the decision, but it wasn't like do or die when you found a new weapon. Um,
Although what was die, and this is the thing that turned me off of the Conduit, the opening level where you are fighting the aliens, but you don't have the suit yet.
oh, okay.
Because regenerating health is a thing. Like, we need to accept that. Video games have regenerating health. If you didn't have your special suit, as stupid as it looks, you didn't have regenerating health. And so the first mission, you're fighting all these aliens as just some guy in a suit and tie, like getting your ass kicked. God, this level's confusing. So I remember playing through the first mission like a ton of times and like getting to like a certain part and then just like getting murdered.
Yeah, what he said. My call cut out for a second.
No, that's all right.
Other thing that I liked was the missions felt like, I mean, the missions felt like you were accomplishing something because you were dealing. So a couple things about the story. You're obviously like you're dealing with an alien invasion. You come to find out that you have that there's a big plot twist, where you find out that like the guy who has been giving you orders most of the time has actually been this guy who's being controlled by the Drudge. And
Was he being
then
controlled or was he one of them?
something like that. I don't remember.
He was bad.
But then, yeah, he was a bad dude. And
Oh,
then
only he was a bad enough dude to save the president.
yeah, um, yeah. I don't remember everything about the plot. Because I haven't played it in a really long time. I just remember enjoying it a lot. But then the other kind of big twist that you have is you've had this like alien device with you the whole time that's allowed
The
you.
all-seeing eye.
Yeah, the Ace. Um, so the all-seeing eye, you could you could use it to scan the environment, and I really love Metroid Prime, and so that was,
I
I
mean, that's
think,
because
part.
Metroid Prime was a great game.
Yeah, it was. And so you you had the main plot, but then there were lots of other little elements that you could unlock in the levels, where you would discover like subplots and other things, and the game would kind of like let you know how many of those you'd unlocked like in the level, and so it was, at least for me, it was encouraging to be like, oh, okay, like I haven't found all of these yet, and I want to know these extra little subplots and other things. Um, Plus the little beam it shot out was kind of cool. Like it wasn't
It was like a
like
laser or something?
yeah. So in Ghostbusters, you know how there's the streams that they shoot out aren't, they're kind of like wavy. It's
Yeah,
not
sure.
just a straight beam. It's not like a laser.
Yeah, sure.
That was what it was like. The Ace, the kind of guidance thing, and then you would also use the Ace as your flashlight. So in the dark parts of the game, you'd like pop open the Ace and you'd like look around in the dark, and then you could also use it to like scan objects and stuff. Um, but you find out that like there's this other alien who was trying to stop the invasion, and he's the one who's been kind of guiding you through the Ace this whole time. Um,
He
but
was
I
like
like
inside it?
he was basically, he wasn't inside it originally. He was communicating like telepathically through it to you, and then you find him, and like right as he's dying, and he kind of like ports his entire consciousness into it from that point. So like um it's not just him like, wait,
These
oh,
are the slimed cereal people.
oh, so sad.
I win.
Wait, that was the
Are you
game?
prepared for the next mission? Wait, what?
Oh, weird.
What?
This is a weird, what?
That's not what
Okay.
happens.
Other awesome,
The
great
mission
thing about the
continues
Conduit.
on chexquest.com.
I bet you that link is dead.
I wonder if that's still alive.
It's probably dead.
Probably.
Um, so other great thing about the Conduit is I felt like, so you're dealing with an alien invasion, and in a lot of the missions, the things that you had to do to stop it were like they had spawning things that you had to blow up, and then they also had different portals that you would go and like blow those up and stop them from coming through. And I just felt like I mean, granted, like that all makes sense, but it it didn't, in terms of the story and the gameplay, it didn't feel like anything that you were doing didn't matter. Like everything felt urgent. Which in some ways that's just how game design is like good game design is supposed to be, and
Mm.
that's what I enjoyed about it. I haven't really read up on things that people hate about it. There one thing that was definitely, and this is more a problem I think. Well, maybe a problem with the Wii, maybe just a problem with like the game itself was
Well,
the
we
the
had a lot of problems.
yeah, in the online multiplayer, the online multiplayer could be really buggy. Um, it wasn't always, but there were there were fairly easily exploitable ways to get like infinite ammo and like game the system so that it would use the fire rate of one, the fire rate and ammo clip of one thing, but use the bullets of another thing. Like,
Machine gun rocket launcher.
yep, machine gun rocket launcher.
Yikes.
But other than that, I thought the Conduit was a great game.
Other than all of these glaring issues.
It was one glaring issue in the multiplayer. Like the single player was great, which is like the exact opposite of what happened with like a lot of Call of Duty games, where they were like, "Oh,
Yeah,
the multiplayer is the only thing that matters."
let's not get on the topic of the new Black Ops and how much trash it is. So unfortunate for that series. Anyway, we've been at this a little while. I've
Yeah,
finished Chex Quest, not sponsored by Chex or General Mills,
or
but
quests.
sponsored by Quest.
By the very idea, the platonic ideal of a quest.
Oh, I remember what Quest is. Quest, you were saying like earlier about like a bank, if it was like a
Hmm.
bank or something. Quest is a diagnostics company.
Oh, okay, that sounds about right.
I don't know why they're called that. Maybe we'll look that up. Probably not. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time on the Dr. Z show. Leave us a comment if you want to hear us yammer on about some stuff that we'll probably only talk about for 5 minutes before we get on a super long tangent about something else.
Yeah, sounds about right.
See you guys next time.
Bye.